Hey guys, it's Dan with Philosophical Fishing. I hope everybody is doing well. I wanted to make a video today talking about just some of the things that I've learned having come off of benzos and what that experience has done for me, and some of the things that I've just acquired and some of the things that have dropped off as a result of going through benzo withdrawal. So I came off of benzos in 2015 in September, and I haven't had a benzo since September 24th of 2015. And I'm just very, very thankful for that. You know, life over the past 7 years since coming off of benzos has not been particularly easy, but it's been a whole lot better. You know, just being able to face life without taking benzodiazepines is pretty remarkable for me. You know, somebody who was on them for so long. At one point, I definitely couldn't ever see myself not taking benzos. I thought that being on benzos would just be something that I would have to accept for the rest of my life, because I had such a propensity to have to fix the way that I was feeling if I was experiencing anxiety or if I was experiencing depression or whatever it was. You know, I knew that once I took a benzo that I would feel a lot better. And then it was like like Dumbo with a magic feather. Like I would be able to go into that situation and face it and not have to feel so much anxiety or so much fear. And so to be 7 years off of benzos and to face a lot of life, the challenges of life and just the everyday things that life can throw at you without the use of a benzo is just about a miracle for me. So, you know, I know that it's a scary proposition, especially if you're still on benzos, to try to think about how am I going to do life without this, but it's totally possible. And I'm just glad today that I've learned so many things and coping strategies to get through life without using benzos, you know. And the experience that I had going through the withdrawal of benzodiazepines was the thing that gave me that initial push. And it was just this explosion of awareness and a real spiritual experience that I had that kind of propelled me through the early stages of benzo withdrawal. I think without that experience, I don't know if it would have made it more difficult to go through benzo withdrawal or not, but I want to put out there for your consideration that perhaps going through the pain of benzo withdrawal can be a springboard and a stepping stone to so much good in your life, even though it's so painful and it's so horrendous. You know, maybe just consider for a moment that everything that you're experiencing going through this phase and this horrendous torture of benzo withdrawal, you can actually alchemize, you can turn that into something good. That can actually be something really, really positive for your life. And what do I mean by that? Well, when I came off of benzos and I was laying in my bed in detox and I was going through psychosis, it was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I didn't even know if I was going to make it through it because I was suicidal and I didn't want to experience one more second of that pain. And you can go back and watch my psychosis experience video and where I talk about it, but without elaborating too much on that, I'll just say that when I was laying in my bed going through psychosis and there was nothing else I could do, and I couldn't even get up to go shower or eat or do anything, there was a man in my treatment center who gave me The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle on a disc Walkman with headphones. And so I put on those headphones and I started listening to The Power of Now, this book by Eckhart Tolle. And it changed my life. It totally changed my life. For the first time in my life, I experienced myself and my thoughts as two separate things, where I was laying there in bed and I shut my eyes and I was having this like horrendous psychosis experience. And it was like every thought that came to mind I could see floating out in front of me as something separate and apart from actually who I was, me as consciousness. was separate from these thoughts, and I could see it. I could experience it for the first time in my life. And why that happened when I was going through psychosis and benzo withdrawal, I don't know. All I know is that I was laying there in my detox bed. I was listening to The Power of Now, and I was having all these crazy thoughts go through my head, and it was just this intense experience. The best way I can describe it, it was like my thoughts were pulled out of my head, and they were kind of like going on like a electronic like ticker tape in front of me. You guys know what those are. Like you see them like in Times Square in New York, or like in cities or restaurants, and it's just like an electronic reader of displaying information to you. And it was like that my thoughts were like on a train going by in front of me, and I could see them going by, and I was watching my thoughts, and I had this experience that, oh my God, I am not my thoughts. The stuff going on in my head, and the things I tell myself, and the things that I think, and the things that I even believe, these aren't necessarily real, because now I'm kind of seeing them as a separate entity. And then me as consciousness, I'm just witnessing these thoughts going by in front of my face. And I've never had that experience before. I've heard people who meditate talk about it and try to describe what it's like. It set in motion this idea that maybe if I keep meditating and I explore this realm of spirituality, that I can deepen and further this experience that I just had, the spiritual awakening that I am just pure consciousness, and then these thoughts that are going through my head are separate and not a part of who I actually am as a being, as a spiritual being going through life. And so after that, I started reading all these different books. The next book I read after that was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which is a great book as well. I started going back and reading a whole bunch of religious texts. I picked up a bunch of philosophy books that I hadn't read since I majored in philosophy in college. And all of a sudden, all these books and all this philosophy and these things that people were talking about started to make a lot more sense to me. I had this deep impression that I am here as a spirit. I'm here as a spiritual being, and this body is just like a flesh suit to get me around in this experience of life. And all of us are spiritual beings. We all come from the spirit world. We're all here to experience life, incarnate in the flesh. And for whatever reason, we're here to learn, and we're here to experience, and we're here to try to find what it is we're supposed to learn in this lifetime. And also the idea of reincarnation, I never really believed in that or gave it much thought before, but I started to feel that I think that I've had more lives, and I feel like we've all had more lives. We've all been here many, many times, and we might come back many times. I started to get this real impression that there was a point to this, that there was a point to my suffering, and there was a point to this horrendous benzo withdrawal, and that it wasn't just necessarily random chance, but maybe through this maze of life, I had made some missteps that kind of led me down this path of taking benzos and then going through benzo withdrawal and going through drug withdrawal and being a drug addict and being an alcoholic and going through alcohol and drug withdrawals and having this intense spiritual experience that kind of led me to this unfolding of life where now things were starting to make sense, even though I was in so much pain, and even though I had so much damage from the benzos and the drugs and the alcohol. I started to feel and recognize and experience that there was something more underneath that. And if I was willing to explore that, and I was willing to kind of delve into it and ask questions, why am I experiencing this? Where is this potentially taking me? Can this deepen my experience of life? Can I come out of this with a better understanding of why I'm here and what's this whole thing all about? And as I started to do that, a lot of things started to come into my path, a lot of people who were on spiritual journeys who could help me, and even some religious people and books and information. And it was just like all this stuff was coming at me all at once. And I was just kind of swimming through it and going, okay, like what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and why did this whole benzodiazepine thing happen, and where do I go now? Now what happens? Because I don't want to go back to that same person I was before. I don't want to go back on benzos. I can't. So I have to find another way to live, and I have to find something else to do with my life. And for me, that's where this whole realm of spirituality came in and really started to make sense to me. And I started with just simple things. Like one of the simple things I learned was just to be kind and just try to be helpful and be of service to people. Even though I was suffering, even though I was all jacked up and messed up, I just looked for small ways that I could just be kind and be of service and show love to other people, whether it was just holding the door for somebody or letting somebody before me in line or lending somebody a little bit of money that I had or whatever it was. And it took the focus off of me and my suffering and what I was going through. If I could just try to lean in with love and try to be there for somebody else, or just listen to somebody else if somebody else is going through something, and looking for those little opportunities where I could try to be a source of love and compassion in this world. And that started to really take hold of me. And I'd learned that when I was doing those things, I then started to feel better, and I started to feel little tiny bits of healing along the way. So just going through life and like looking at life through this lens of compassion, and how can I help? What can I do today? What can I give back into the world? Because prior to this experience, I would always walk into a room and quite selfishly, not that I meant to, I never mean to be selfish, but I just kind of have this innate selfishness in me. And so it's fundamentally different to walk into a room and think, what can I give to this situation? What can I give back? How can I help this? What can I offer to these people or to this situation? And even if you're still in the early stages of benzo withdrawal, unless you're bedridden, there might be some real small, tangible things that you can do to try to do that. I also had a young daughter who was 4 years old when I got off of benzos, and so I would just try to be the best father that I could to her and think, how can I help her today? What can I do to enrich her life? And so I would just take her to the parks a lot. We would go for walks. I would just spend time with her, and the simple things became not simple anymore. The simple things became extraordinary to me. And you'll probably know what I'm talking about if you've gone through bad benzo withdrawal or drug addiction. It's all those things that when you were in the fog kind of just floated by your periphery of vision and you didn't really take them in at all, such as spending time with your kids or just taking a walk on a beautiful day. Those things would just be like, yeah, whatever. I'm just trying to get to the next minute, But to actually be there and be present and realize this moment is a gift. This time that I have is precious. This moment that I have, I'm learning, and I'm also giving. I'm also being compassionate. I'm also trying to be as present as possible with the people that I love and everybody who comes along my path. And it does get tough sometimes too, because there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be difficult people in life, and there's always going to be somebody who challenges the type of life that I'm trying to live. And that's okay. That's just part of it. That's just part of the walk. But what I've learned is, even though I'll get bumped off of center from time to time, my trajectory is always, what am I bringing to the table? What am I here to offer? Who do I want to be at the end of the day? You can bring whatever you want to bring. That's fine. This is what I'm bringing. This is what I'm putting on the table. I'm offering love. I'm offering kindness. I'm offering compassion. You might offer anger, hostility, resentment. That's fine. That's you. That's your side of the street. That's not me. And so as long as I have this aim and I keep generally trying to move in this trajectory, I really can't lose. The spiritual awareness that I've gained as a result of going through what I've gone through has revolutionized my life. And it's really been the stepping stone to a whole new life unfolding in front of me. So if you're still going through benzo withdrawal, or you've gone through it, I guess my challenge this week would be for you to see, what can I give? How can I be of service? What can I do to enrich somebody else's life or be there for somebody else. And just ask the universe what you can do and see how the universe responds. See who gets put in your path. And it might just be something really small. Don't look for something huge and extravagant. It might be a phone call from an old friend or a family member or a neighbor that just needs something. And now they've come to you and you're thinking, what the hell do I have to offer? I'm jacked up myself. But we all have something to offer, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you're going through. Everybody's got something to offer. Everybody can do something good for somebody else. And in turn, by doing that, you'll be rewarded. Not that you're looking for the reward, but there's little parts of your spirit that are going to heal as a result of doing that. And all this healing is going to help facilitate your healing from benzo damage. All this stuff affects the body. It affects the physical body. It affects the physical brain, and it also affects your heart, everything. So my challenge to you guys this week is, what can I do to help somebody else? How can I enrich somebody else's life? What can I do for somebody else? And maybe leave a comment. Let me know if something comes up. Let me know how it went for you. And I appreciate the hell out of you guys, all you guys that have subscribed to the channel and keep leaving me these comments that encourage me to keep making videos. Like I say, as long as these videos are helpful, I'm just going to keep making them. So thank you guys so much. I love you guys, and I wish you a lot of healing.